Everyone was thirsty. No matter who you asked or where you went, everyone wanted water. I wanted it too. I was always thirsty, and the people in the camp never gave us anything to drink. I saw a man tackle and hurt the people who gave us food and water once. He was old, his hair was gray, and the bones were sticking out of him. There was an old lady with him too, and she looked just like him. He yelled and screamed, and my dad pulled me away before I ever saw what happened to the old man. He plugged my ears too, and when he unplugged them, all I could hear was the old lady crying. I never saw the man again, and my dad never told me what happened. My dad always told me that when he was little, people had gigantic pools of water in their backyards. He also told me that people got their water from pipes in their houses, and they could drink it whenever they wanted. There were even rivers and lakes that people would take boats on. I always asked my dad why we didn't have the things he had, and why there was no water and no food anymore, and why the ground was so dry, and why the camp people wore helmets and armor. He always told me that I asked why too much, but I wanted to know all these things. Sometimes Dad wouldn't answer any of my questions, but other times he would put his arm around me, stay quiet for a few seconds, and then start to talk. He would tell me about the war a lot, and how things were different a long time ago. I don't remember a lot about our old home before the camp. It was small, dirty, and full of people. All of the houses were like that. Once, I asked my dad why we had to leave. He told me that under our house, there was a lot of water, and that it was the only special kind of water left in the world. He called it the last great aquifer, and he said that all of the people in the world were fighting over it. I asked him why the whole world was here, and he got really quiet for a few minutes. He looked very sad. "Everyone is thirsty, Robert," he said. "There are children just like you in faraway places that want water too, but we also need the water. They aren't fighting because they're angry with us, Robert. They just need to live like we do." My mom would always play this game with me where she counted my fingers, and then she would tell me the wrong number, even though I knew how many fingers I had. It made me laugh a lot. One morning, I woke up and saw my mom laying in her cot, and Dad had his hand on her forehead. It looked like she was shivering, although she was covered in blankets. My dad looked very worried. He told me that Mom was sick. Every day after that, I would ask her if she was going to be okay. She would always just smile and say, "Mommy loves you, Robert," in a soft voice. One night, I woke up very late. I couldn't see very well, but I could see my dad sitting next to my mom's cot. He had his head close to hers, and his hand was moving across Mom's hair. I could hear him whispering things into her ear, and he soon started crying. "I love you, Anna," I heard him say once. He then ran out of our house, and I could hear him yelling. I started to get really scared. Was Dad okay? Was Mom alright? I didn't know what was going on. A few minutes later, my dad ran back into the house. He was still crying. There were 2 camp people following him, and they were wearing black armor. They were also carrying a big, white bag. The 2 men went over to my mom and looked at her body. My dad was sitting in the corner of our house, and his hands were covering his face. He was crying really hard now. They took the bag and started to put my mom's body in it. She didn't even move at all. That's when I started screaming and crying. I got right out of my cot and started hitting the camp people. "Don't take her away," I screamed. "Why are you taking my mom? Why? Why?" When they saw me, one of them kicked me in the belly and I fell down on the ground. My dad picked me up and brought me to the corner with him. "No, no, no, no," I yelled. The camp people took her away. I never saw my mom again after that. My dad and me sat in the corner for the whole night. He hugged me really tight and we cried and cried. I remember him whispering things into my ear. "You're all I have left," he whispered. "I love you so much, Robert." I fell asleep, so I don't remember much after that. I miss my mom a lot. It's been a long time since my mom went away. There were big trucks in the camp this morning. They picked us up a little while ago. I asked my dad where we were going, and he said he didn't know. He didn't answer any of my questions very much anymore. He would just smile and say, "Don't worry about it, Robert." I looked out the window of the truck and saw the sun go down over the big desert. It was big and yellow, and it made the sky glow up before nighttime. I don't know where we are going, but I hope it's nice. I hope there's a lot of water, a lot of food, and maybe even birds. The last time I saw birds was a long time ago, and I haven't seen them for a while. I always wished that I could fly like a bird. Maybe instead of being thirsty, everyone could have just flew away. My dad told me that birds do that when it gets cold. They fly away to other places. Maybe Dad, Mom, and me could have gone to those places too. I turned around to my dad. He was looking down. Dad, are we going to be okay? I asked. He waited for a minute, with a sad look on his face, but then smiled. Yes, we're going to be fine. He laughed a little bit after that. You asked too many questions, Robert.